Hello, welcome to this class that's designed to introduce you to a little bit of yin postures and yin yoga. Yin yoga is holding some mostly seated or supine, so lying down postures to a greater amount of time that we would normally. And this is in order to reach the fascia and to get a little bit deeper into the body than you would otherwise. Some people call it fascia as well, and in fact I think it might be fascia. I'll go with fascia. So we'll start by taking a little bit of movement, as the postures that are to follow have very little movement, but a little bit more space for the mind to wander. And hopefully it doesn't wander into, oh, I've got an itchy nose or the rest of it. So let's start by getting ourselves moving those hands and the elbows and then the shoulders. Good. And then we'll get onto our hands and knees. And then from here, I'm going to come and take some weight onto the knees so I can move my ankles. If you don't want to, you can go back and still move those ankles like this. And then from this, I will take weight onto the right knee, extend the left leg, stretch it out, bend the knee, and take some hip circles. So about 3 in one direction, and then 3 into the other direction. And then the other leg, so back out, bend the knee, open out. And then in, so we go in towards the elbow, about 3-4 times will be enough. I'm going to come onto my fists, allow my head to release, have the knees separated, and then simply here, cat, rounding into your back, cow, cat, cow, cat, cow. And then take the hands forward. Optional here to take a down dog. You'll notice I'm wearing socks and a jumper because there isn't a great deal of movement. This is the most movement that we're going to do consecutively. Therefore, you might want to have a few layers. And also, always plenty of blocks and bricks and supports. You're being propped to stay in the postures a sufficient amount of time to reach deeper into the muscles than you would necessarily during more yang yoga postures, so more flowy postures. We're going to start into a posture known as the heart bench. I'm going to take 2 bricks. I'm going to place this brick that will be at the top on its second setting, meaning that this is the flat setting, this is the second setting, and this is the highest one. Depending on how much of a back bend you can take, you may well be able to go onto the top setting. I'm going to start here. And then a little further down, about a good hand width, and you may need to move this, I'm going to put this onto the lower setting. And then I come down so that this brick here ends up where the ribs here, if you come from the front, go to the bottom of your ribs, and then when they go towards the shoulder blades, this is where you want to rest. So in fact, I'm going to move this a little bit. And this will make an indentation here. And then my brick, I'm going to place it under my head, so occipital here. So it's not on the neck, but it's just on the edge of where my skull and my neck meet. And I'm going to stay here. The idea is to open the shoulders, having the palms facing up towards the ceiling. You might need to have a little shuffle around, and in fact the first couple of times you do this, you might not get it right straight away. Make sure that you have a little move around so that you can now observe how you feel in the posture and allow time to pass. A note on the legs can be really placed any way that you want them to be placed, meaning that they can be extended like mine, or you could have the soles of the feet together and the knees wide, or you could have the feet flat and the knees together. Alternatively, if this is really too much for your back, you could roll up a mat or a blanket and put it underneath. It'd have to go underneath the armpits essentially. And then you could have a brick on the lower setting, and that would still allow for the opening into the shoulders. So now you're left in your first edge, so you've taken this posture and you're allowing breath and time to take effect. So you can notice what your breath feels like. How easy or not it travels through your body. Here we have time for a little bit more introspective, quiet time, if you like. So you can listen to the breath, and perhaps you can sense the body releasing and somewhat moulding itself around the bricks. There are plenty of distractions around, whether it is a songbird or thought going through your mind. Whatever it is, allow it to be, notice it and try not to engage with it. You can listen to the bird song outside. You can notice that you're thinking your tongue is rumbling, or that you have a specific item to get when you do your shopping later on. It's fine, it's all there around and in you. And try to let them go, let them pass, let them be on their way. Take another 3 breaths here. And then very gently, if your legs are extended, you're going to bring them back flat. If they're opened out to the side, or the knees are knocking in, you're essentially bringing the feet under the knees so that they are parallel. And then you very gently roll over onto your right side. It is unusual to be able to spring out of those postures, and we don't want to. We have offered support for a few minutes here. You're not going very far here, so you're on your right side, and we're going to come to a posture that is sometimes referred to as Cleopatra's Lounge. Because you will have a brick that basically comes under the armpits and on the side, that can be quite stimulating. I would recommend to take a blanket and maybe put it on top. And it may well be that you can have to leave it on its first setting, or that you could have it on its second setting. You may also here want to pad under the hips. Any of you that have had issues with your lymphatic system or chest and the likes, you definitely want to come onto something softer rather than harder. So here, I'm placing this a little bit under my armpit, but above my chest, so that I can place my elbow down to the floor and support the back of my head. And I'm trying to have the knees in line with my hips, but depending on how the back feels, you may well want to have the knees a little bit more forward. And sometimes, and particularly when it's maybe one of the first times that you come across yin, it might feel slightly invasive. Physically, prodding, but also your mind might not be so ready to have nothing to do. So it might go into rebellion and start thinking rather a lot. And that's good too. There's passive posture, if you like, helps you to deal with tension in the body, but also sometimes tension in the mind. To ride the waves of the thoughts. You want to come to the edge physically, never any pain, of course. Would I choose to normally stick a block on the side of my rib cage and shoulders and lean on it? No, but I know that it releases tensions around the shoulders and that it can be good for you. Take one more breath. Very gently release the hand that is supporting you. Come away from this. I'm going to take this to the left side. So I'm going to just shift around and over. You may well be able to just turn on your sides and then just repeat the process on the other side. So again, I'm coming to place this under my armpits to reach to the side of the shoulder. I'm bending my knees back so that they're more or less in line with my hips. Being totally honest, they are a little bit more forward. That feels good. So I'm going to stay here. I'm bending. I've got my elbow released to the floor. This feels tougher on this side than it does on the other. I can notice this in my body. I'm going to persevere and close my eyes and focus on my breath. It is said that After about a minute and a half, the body realises that it's not going to go anywhere in a hurry, so it releases a little bit more. You might feel this slowly in your tissues, releasing your fascia, being reached. Take one more breath. And then very gently bring yourself forward and come up to being seated. Being seated, and maybe I'm going to choose my blanket underneath my bottom. And I'm going to extend my legs forward. Taking the left foot flat to the floor and then the left foot to the outside of the knee. Some of you with issues with sciatica, and if you're feeling it a little bit today, you may want to move that standing leg a little bit more to the side so that you can release that leg more comfortably. Some of you will want to have the legs just crossed like this, or simply the legs extended. Another variation would be, if you have the flexibility in your hips as well, is to have the knees crossed this way into Gomukhasana. So you choose which one feels more comfortable. And then you're going to take the left arm up above the head and behind you, the right arm to the outside, lift, keep that spine lifted, and then you're very gently twisting. Yin Yoga is often tackling more the vitality of the spine essentially, and also working on those hips to keep mobility, elasticity, to reach a little deeper into the body. If you need to support the back hand, you could have your hand onto a brick, or you could take it off and just relax it onto the lower back, take it off the ground. Again, it may not be unusual at first to be gripping rather than releasing. Too uncomfortable, come to any other variations that were shown at the beginning of the posture. We'll see whether, if, of course, never any pain, but if you can slowly bring your breath into releasing into the experience of this posture. Very gently bring the gaze back through to the centre, the spine back through to the centre. Take the hands behind you, release those legs and give them a little bit of movement here. And let's see how this goes on the other side. So this time you take the right knee in and then you place the foot to the outside. Again, option, take the extended leg a little bit more towards the outside edge of the room, or you can have just the legs crossed or the legs extended. If you can, you release the knee on top of the other. If you can, you come onto the left buttock so that you can then release the knees stacked on top of one another. Right arm comes over the head and behind you, and the left arm comes to the outside. Crown of the head up, and then you can turn your spine. Notice how it feels. You don't have to look back with your neck, you can just allow the neck to turn as much as the spine is doing. Are you holding tension in your hips? Is this the kind of tension that you feel perhaps will melt over breath and time? Or are you going to grip it anymore? Make yourself comfortable. The idea here is not to induce anxiety or pain, quite the opposite. The idea is to work deeply into the tissues. Fascia goes through your muscles, your tendons, your joints. So you want this to work for you. You're bringing a certain amount of stress, knowing that stress can be a positive into your body. You are stressing your bones by applying here tension, torsion, so you're twisting. And so it sends messages to your bones to produce new cells. Let's take one more breath. And then we'll turn the gaze back through to the center, the spine back through towards the center. And we extend the legs. Or we give them a little jiggle about. Let's come onto our fronts for a Sphinx. Now, because we stay here for a few minutes, I'm going to support my hips by folding my blanket enough that it gives me like a little ramp for my hips, and that will help support my lower back. Those of you that have got quite happy backs and back bends may not need to do this. You can try it with, you can try it without. I want my props. So here, when I come into Sphinx, which I will have the elbows under my shoulders, but you may well have them a little further forward. We're looking for an angle, a gradient in the back that feels comfortable to you. You want to be able to relax the buttocks. I know that I will probably need this, have it at hand rather than not, so you have your support at hand. Because there is one thing staying into this posture for up to 5 breaths maybe when we practice a more flowy or Hatha Vinyasa type of yoga. But it's another thing to stay there for up to 20 minutes. Not today, of course, this is an introduction. The postures, we only really stay in there a shorter amount of time, enough to give us a taster of what this feels like. Nevertheless, it's been over a minute in this posture now. And my back muscles are relaxing in the lower back, but my neck is starting to tell me that it wants to be supported, so I'm going to release my forehead to my brick and allow my support, my prop, to take over. And as I do so, as if by magic, my back is going, ooh, I can let go a little bit more. And in those postures, we don't have to hold muscle mass and tense in any way. We allow the posture to, once it's comfortable, to take over, if you like. There's no asking of hugging the muscles to the bones or flexing or tensing. We come into the posture and we let it do its job. Take one more breath. And very slowly, very gently, bring the hands out to the side, tuck the toes, bring yourself back up. If you can sit back onto your heels, you're being introduced to come back to a neutral spine. If not, you sit back gently onto your bottoms, legs extended or cross-legged, so that your spine can come back into more a neutral spine. So now my pelvis is releasing from the back bend to a more neutral. And it just did that naturally after a few breaths. Never jump from one posture to the other in yin, and it's impossible to if you follow your breath and your body. Now from this posture I shall come forward into a child's posture. I'm going to keep my knees together. You're more than welcome to have them separated. I'm going to have a little bit of support here with my forehead onto my blanket, folded. It could be onto the floor, it could be onto the brick. My bum is going to lift slightly up off my heels, and I'm going to let that happen. I'm not going to try to stretch it over too much. Closing your eyes, having the hands behind you. And allowing this gentle forward fold to do its job in releasing your back. As your body releases and lets go, it might be useful to move your head a little bit to accommodate the expansion into the back of the body. When you're ready to, slowly bring the hands to the side of the knees. And then curl yourself back up. Take your hands to your thighs, come back to a neutral spine, maybe extend the legs forward. And just notice how you feel right now. You may follow this practice with Shavasana. Curl yourself up in a blanket and let go for a further few minutes, or take one of the relaxation that is also available on the videos. Or you may now go about your day, remembering to have a big glass of water or herbal tea to bring some moisture back into your body, as this can sometimes feel like you've had a massage, if you like. Inhale, arms up. Hands to the forehead for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind actions. Namaste.